Right, so this meeting is being recorded. We're going to start off, Lisa, please telling us a little bit more about the context of the National Curriculum Framework and assessment and what we need to know about the bigger picture.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. The National Curriculum Framework, which everybody knows, is the framework of all early childhood development in the country, and it is the guiding principles that we follow when running an ECD center. One thing that the National Curriculum Framework has done is they've provided us with an assessment process that they believe is the right way to run assessment in preschool. So the first step is obviously preparing for the assessment. And by that, they mean decide on an assessment tool or create your own assessment tool and have it ready for your assessment period. The next step is identifying through observation. That means that the focus of this assessment is not about testing a child, but rather honing in your observation skills. The third step is record your information. So you need to go and record everything that you've observed in the learners. Once you've recorded this, you have an opportunity to interpret that information. That means you can then look at it and say, wow, I can see that 10% of my learners are really struggling with this, or 80% are struggling with it, and I need to make changes. The fifth step is reporting and discussing. That means sharing the information that you've observed with your principal, because she, after all, is the leader of the school. She needs to know. The next one is obviously with the parent. Every parent deserves to know how their child is developing and if there are any challenges. And then the last step is planning for the next activities. And by that we mean, what can I do as the teacher to make sure that I plug all the gaps? Any area that a child shows weakness, I need to address that in my planning going forward. So in effect, that's what the National Curriculum Framework has set out for all early childhood development centers.
That's an excellent summary, Lisa. And I'd love to hear from you. You can use the chat section to let us know if there are any specific areas of assessment that's getting you worried or concerned, or that you have challenges with. We have Ati and Lisa here. We can always ask them for some more insights. Lisa, back to you.
Sure. Okay, so according to the National Curriculum Framework, we have the 6 elders, which everyone knows about, and each of those elders needs to feature in the assessment, because you can't leave one of the early learning development areas out, because then you won't be able to know how the child is developing. So there we have a summary of what those 6 elders are. And then let's go and have a look at what do we mean by observation and assessment. In the National Curriculum Framework, the emphasis is really on observing children. And it's an ongoing and planned activity that you do every day. It's part of your daily routine. And it's done through structured and through free play. So by that, we mean there isn't an assessment time where you say, right, we're going to test the children. Instead, it's a process of observing throughout the year and recording. And the observing, that's where you as the teacher learn more and more and more about every single learner, how different they are, how they learn, what they've achieved. Observation means watching carefully and listening carefully to each child every day. And the National Curriculum Framework is a guide to this assessment process, and it covers those 6 early learning areas.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And in that same context, we can't talk about assessment and the elders without talking about developmental milestones. So Ati, I think I want to talk to you a little bit about the milestones. talk to us a little bit about milestones, what we should know, and what are some of the pitfalls?
So, good afternoon, everybody. So you will notice that we talk about milestones, but then the teachers, you would be surprised that the teachers don't know what the word milestones means, and so will the parents as well. So developmental milestones are things most children can do by a certain age. So, excuse me. So when you look at the child's milestones, you will look at their social and emotional development, their language or communication, or their cognitive development, which is their learning, their thinking, and their problem solving, and then their movement and their physical development. So those are just some of the things that the teachers need to know about the developmental milestones.
Yes.
So
it's almost like clues to what should be coming next, the steps of growing up. Because what I'm hearing from you is growing up is not just my body growing, it's everything else as well.
Yes, you don't just see the child growing because they are now taller. So you need to then see those milestones in a child. Then we use the developmental milestones to guide our assessment, because all children grow and develop at their own pace. We don't compare children. So yes, you might have all your 4 to 5-year-olds in one class, but they will not be able to do the same thing all at once. You need to then do those activities, for example, throwing and catching a ball or threading through. So you need to do those activities daily, so that when assessment time reaches, you are then able to see that does this child reach or meet their milestones. Sorry.
Excellent. And that really makes sense for me, because if I look at the Grow learner assessment on our app, there's different assessments for different age groups, because we're expecting different milestones. Now, I'm sure there are people on the group asking, where do I get a list of the milestones? How can we help, Ati?
So on the Grow app, we have a part or a section where you will then go to the resource center, where you will find all the resources. So under the, under the parent communication, you will then find all of the milestones, the different milestones for the different age groups. You will get that from the resource center on the Grow app.
Yes, and Ati, is that for free?
Definitely, it is for free. You download it, you have it on your phone, you can share it with the parents, and the parents will then also be able to do their own checklist and say, okay, so this is this is where my child's development is at the moment.
That's
from
so
your
lovely.
babies up to your 4 to 5-year-olds, yes.
Excellent. So in the Resource Center app, it's called Milestone Checklist. Also, what we've done is we've done a little summary of some key milestones per age group for you on these slides. We're not going to go into every slide right now, but we will email you all of these slides. So that's a lovely reference, or perhaps even if you are doing this training with your teachers. All right, let's get into the assessment, Lisa. Tell us a little bit more.
Okay, so I guess the important part is to know, why do we assess learners? So we start by observing and documenting a child's work, which means that we collect what we call we collect all their artwork, it's like a portfolio of work. We collect that over the year, because that gives us a very easy reference to see, oh my goodness, look, how much has this child improved over the year? It also gives you a talking point for parents. If you are trying to show a parent how well the child's developed drawing a person, for example, you can say, wow, look at this in March and look at this in October. Look how much she's improved, or really hasn't. And so it gives you actual things to discuss with the parent. The teacher also uses the assessment to give her information when she is to plan the daily educational activities. We do not teach all children in the same way, because they are all individuals with their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and their own needs, and even their own learning styles. So an important thing to understand is, when I look at my assessment result and I see a particular child struggles with fine motor, I may set up an activity for 2 or 3 of them that allows me time just to focus on them. So you can see that this is a way for me to look at the milestones, to say, are you reaching them? And if you're not, how can I step in as your teacher to make sure I provide you with honest activities every day that you can do to help them to develop.
I love that. And so it sounds like you're really using data to make great decisions and then turn that into practical solutions in your classroom. A question that I often have is, some of the questions sound subjective to me. How do I know how to score on the questions?
Sure. So the way that the assessment tool has been designed is we've got 2 parts. One is activities that we detail on what to do with the child, and the other is just observations. So a simple thing is, I have a question, and the question is, I can balance on one leg for more than the count to 10. So that's the thing that I'm trying to solve in my head. Can this child actually do that? In order for me to assess the child, I have to do an activity, because I can't remember what he did last week. He was in a big group of children, but I want to see just this child. So I would say to the child, this is the activity. And I'm going to say, can you balance on one leg, just like me? And I'm going to count to 10. So I have an activity that I want to do. Once I've done that activity and I've watched the child do it, I then say, is this a no? In other words, I cannot balance on one leg without wobbling over. Or is it still developing, which means I can balance on one leg for a count of 1 or 2, but I easily lose my balance? Or am I going to score the child a yes? And a yes looks like I can balance easily on one leg for the count of 10 or more. So this description helps you decide.
Oh dear, I seem to have lost
Confidence.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm independent and confident when I arrive each day. I can't test that. I can't do an activity to check it. So instead, what I do is I look at the observation, and my observation is, when brought to the center, does the child part comfortably from their caregiver, or do they struggle to separate? Do they arrive showing confidence and independence? So that's the description. And I think back to my everyday encounters with this child, and I say, sure, I still need my caregiver to help me with hanging up my bag, or I cry every day, or I really struggle. Then I'm going to record that child as no, or still developing, or yes, according to this description.
That's an excellent, thank you so much. So activities and observations are the different ways in which you'll assess.
Yeah.
And obviously those questions that you just saw were for a certain age group, right? Based on the milestones and then across all of the ELDAs. So here is a great example of the 4 to 5-year-old assessment activities. This is just a little screenshot to show you what this looks like when you download the assessment resources from the Grow app. So this could be your guide in preparation, and then you can run the assessment on your app. We'll show you in more detail shortly how to do that. And
Yeah,
Lisa,
absolutely. So
what do
there's
we
a
need to...
different, sorry, there's a different assessment per age group, and each activity within that has been designed to meet the exact age requirements of that child.
Okay, great. Now, I'm imagining you don't just walk into the classroom and start assessing. What do you need to do to prepare yourself for assessment?
All right, so the first thing you would want to do is you would make sure that you train your teachers and you get them motivated, because, you know, it has to be a team effort. If your teachers are not interested, it's not going to happen. The training is available both online, free of charge with reverse billing, or it's available within the Grow offices in your region where these training courses are regularly hosted. You can arrange an assistant and plan activities for other learners not being assessed. So imagine you are really, really focused on that, on the assessment period, and you're wanting to take groups outside to check out they can balance and kick a ball. You're sort of worried about the ones that aren't with you. So perhaps you need to get assistant in for the day, maybe a parent who would like to read the children a story while you are busy. Those are the sort of planning things that you would do. The third thing is you would review the questions and plan the activities. Now, the whole assessment is not done in one day. On Monday, I might do just the gross motor, because then I've got my skipping rope, my balance beam, my beanbag, everything ready. And I only do that on Monday. Then later in the week, I might do the fine motor or the language development. And each day I would plan how I'm going to roll this out, including who would be in that group that I assess. I would collect the equipment that I need so that I'm not running around the classroom going, oh my goodness, where's my ball? I need to check for that. Then I would decide which groups work. Now, it's not only about ability. So I wouldn't necessarily pick my, let's say, my strongest at gross motor and put them all in one group. Sometimes it's about a practical thing. These 4 kids get along so well. They would have a lot of fun together, because assessment is not meant to be stressful. It's meant to be a fun time for the children where they have one-on-one attention from their teacher. Then I would have an assessment score sheet. Now, this assessment score sheet is built into the app. Now, one option is to open up your phone and record as you go. So I can stand outside with my phone and I can observe and I can score yes, no, still developing as I go. So that's really easy. Some teachers don't like necessarily or struggle with technology, or their phones aren't working. There is a paper tool that you can use where you can record exactly the same way, and then you load all that information onto your app later. Now, the reason that you want to do that is simple: time saving. And it is so state of the art, because what you do is you put all that information and you can generate a report that you can print, or you can send directly to the parent. So you know how special a parent feels when they're at work and they get a bleep, there's a message, and there's their child's school report. And they can show all their mates and say, check what I've got. So that's the way of the future. A paper printed, shared from some other school with a logo stuck on top, that's just not cutting it anymore.
Ati, I see you are smiling. Tell us, what do you do at your school? Do you also do that?
So,
what's
look,
it like?
I fully agree with Lisa. You know, the idea of having the assessment sheet is a very great idea. To have the assessment sheet, then you can put that paper onto the child's portfolio. Then that's obviously after you've recorded the assessment on your app. So you keep that assessment sheet in the child's portfolio, so that when the child takes the portfolio home, or the parents come in to see the child's portfolio or for a meeting, they are then able to see, okay, so this is how my child did in term 1, term 2, or term 3, and term 4. So yeah.
Excellent, yes. And I can imagine a lot of hip young parents loving that on their phone, being able to share it with family and friends as a PDF, bragging with granny, saying like, look, this is my child's report. And also, if I need a report for, let's say my child is going to big school now, then that's a lovely, looks very professional, looks very official.
Yes.
All right. So here is a little bit about what Lisa was explaining. In the app, when you go to the assessment section, it's not just run assessment. You can do prepare assessment first. You can see whether it's the 2 to 3, 3 to 4, or 4 to 5-year-old learners that you are assessing. And you can see what you need: a ball, beads, wooden blocks, the crazy characters, paper, a crayon. So you are not surprised on the morning when you start assessment. And then this is the document that Lisa was referring to under help. You can download the assessment rubric, which explains all the questions and how to assess them. Okay. And here is an example of that assessment score sheet that she was referring to. all of these available for free for download via the app. And yes, do capture it in the app. Also because it helps with your record keeping. You can have one learner's assessments over all of the months or years that they are with your center. So Lisa, talk to us a little bit about the items we need to have ready for these assessments.
So what's really important to know is that you don't have to go off and get anything. You've probably got every piece of equipment that you need in your center. So we talk about the large beads and threading string. So centers that have got the Grow kit have got a bead and threader in their kit. But so do you, so does every school have threaders. So it's about finding a matching piece of equipment. So this is the assessment basket that we have. And if you go on to the next slide, Eileen, you'll show that that's as simple as it is. It's a couple of things that you collect ahead of time and you are ready to do your assessment.
And if we don't have these items, you've got some nice ideas.
Correct. So the concept is about threading. It's a hand-eye coordination activity. It is also a fine motor activity. You don't need a shop-bought bead and threader set. You can use a shoelace and buttons or homemade clay beads, anything where that hand has to take a very fine object through a hole and pull it onto the other side. So you don't need to have an expensive toy. The same with a connected toy. The concept is, can I take my right hand and my left hand, join in the middle and create a connection between two items? You can do it with cardboard cutouts. You can do it with a multitude of different toys. A pegboard, again, has to do with that fine motor and hand-eye coordination where you look at a hole and you've got a fine little thing and you manage to get that peg into that hole. You can use a polystyrene tray with sticks or golf tees or anything like that and it will tell you the same thing. So you really don't have to go off and buy expensive things for an assessment.
Thanks, Lisa. I love all of these ideas. Just want to look at the chat. There were two questions. One was whether the app and the assessment is available in other languages. Right now, the assessment is only in English, purely because really of resource limitations. We are also a non-profit organization and we're trying to make our resources available as far and as wide as possible. So at this stage, it's only in English. And I think someone else also was asking about the app and when it will be available for iOS or iPhones. So if you're currently an iPhone or iOS user, we are working on an app that will work for iPhones. But right now, the app is only working on Android phones and tablets. So not on your laptop and not on your iPhone. If you have someone who can borrow the center a tablet, then you can definitely use that. So only Android devices at this stage. All right, Ati, I had a question. Okay, so tell us about your center. Do you do assessments once a year, twice a year? Is it like a test time? What is your process in your center?
So at my center, one thing I told them is that, you cannot say, okay, we're assessing the children twice a year. Yes, that's true. But we need to observe the children every day, daily, in the activities that they do, in the playing that they are doing, the talking. So, for example, you cannot be expecting a child to cut through a straight line during the assessment time when the child has never touched a scissors before. Then that means the result for that child will be a no, they cannot cut through a straight line. So assess the child, observe the child every day, make sure that you know that in the assessment, they need to cut through a line. So give them activities where they will be cutting through a line, or give them activities that you will be able to observe to prepare them for the assessments. So assessment is definitely continuous.
Oh, and then I have a great question here. So Anna mentioned something about her parents having iPhones. So Ati, if a parent had an iPhone, how would you get the assessment report to them? Could you download it? How does that work?
So as the principal, I would obviously download it and then send it to the parent via WhatsApp, or I would email them, because, you know, an email is nice and professional. You could even add, for example, what I did for last year, December, I also sent a nice Christmas picture with the report to show them that it's season's greetings.
That's very nice. So Anna, thank you for that question. So parents who don't have the app, or perhaps their phone, you know, they're not techie or they don't want this thing, you can still download the report in a PDF from your phone and your app, and you can share the PDF with them in whichever communication channel you use. There was also a question about educators. Tanya asks if educators have to register through the school. So yes, Tanya, the way that the app works is that the center owner or principal registers their account. They load and register the educators or teachers, and only those teachers can then use the app to access the school's information. This is because of security and safety for the learners' data. And also, as the center owner, you then have immediate control over who can assess or not assess learners. And if a teacher leaves, you can immediately remove her. Even if she still has the app on her phone, she can't access any of the school data. Okay. Lisa, tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I think something that's really important is the way that Grow works. This is something that we encourage. Now, looking at that national curriculum framework process, this is very much the same, but we just put it into a very simple table like this little diagram. I would strongly suggest that in 2024, you start your assessment process earlier in the year, instead of leaving it till the end of May, June, July, because what you really want to do is to establish almost a baseline, a way for you to know, where are my children now? Not in July, when I've got 2 months of the year left, where I can't make too many changes. I would suggest that you start by looking at every child in your center. Does the child meet the milestones? So you've got to know what they are, and then do they meet them? And which area of learning needs additional attention? Now, with that information in my hand, I can plan my year. I can plan per child. I can plan a lot more if I know early in the year, instead of waiting. Because we sometimes say, shame, you know, let them settle in and let them learn something, because I don't want them to look like they've done badly. Rather, start early and know exactly where your learners are. You then have a growing understanding of every child's need. Start then with the parent feedback. And you know why you start early? Because you want to entice the parents in. This feedback that you give early in the year, it's not about school fees. So they're not feeling, oh my word, why they want me here. Instead, you're inviting them in. You're telling them about your program, what the theme is, how their child is doing. And you start to create a partnership with the parents. The next step is obviously your planning. Look at what approach works, and then create your plan according to every child's need. Then you put the plan into action. I have always had children that learn differently. I've got some that need to be active. They cannot sit at a table. They need to be busy and moving. Well, you know what? Why don't I write in some activities in my plan that will address that? Because I know what works for that child. Then I review. Later on, I do a second assessment. And based on the second assessment, I'm then able to see what progress has been made. If I leave my assessment for July and I do another one in November, I'm not really seeing that much progress. But if I assess my children when they arrive with me, I now know what they can do, and I'm then able to plan my year. The second parent feedback is also so important. because this is where you are able to show the parent of the child that's struggling, how they can help, and also for the child that needs a bit of attention, maybe they need to be referred on to a specialist.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lisa. All right. I know that all of you are waiting. You're like, but show it to us now. Show us this assessment tool. We want to use it. So let's dive in. These are the free assessment resources. I'm going to go skip past that. So we mentioned apps just now. I wanted to remind you that there are two, in fact, there are three apps. Giraffe is the app for the ECD center owner or principal. Just think of the giraffe with their tall neck. They can view everything in the savannah. Same with the owner or principal. They can view everything of the school. Finances, learners, teachers, everything. The Meerkat app is the app for the teacher. So the teacher has a limited view and can only see the learners in their class and run the assessments and access or download their own ECD resources and training. So where do you complete the assessment? It is in your My Learners section under Assess Learner and Run Assessment. This is an interesting one. Lisa, why would we want to run assessments either by individual or by development area? Just tell us what these options are about.
Oh, sure. So the way that we generally run an assessment is that we would pick a development area and we would run it as a group. So I would say today I'm going to do gross motor. I've got my ball and my skipping rope and everything ready. And I call 4 or 5 children at a time. And I say, right, let's group go outside. And it could be the yellow group or the butterflies. And we say, come, let's go outside, and we do the activity. And it's very easy for me to observe 5 of them kicking the ball and get through my assessment quite quickly. But of course, the way things are, we have a child that's in the butterfly group, but he's actually sick today. So he comes back after a week. Now he's missed the whole assessment period. So for that little one, I would then assess him just alone as an individual. And I would be able to run through the full assessment just with recording his development and progress, and not part of an assessment domain only.
Okay, so that's very nice. That's nice and practical. And
Yeah.
if you are the center owner, maybe you have 100 or 120 learners in your school. Now you're thinking, oh, how are assessments going? Because you've now equipped each of your teachers to run the assessment for their class. Here you can view your assessment progress by age group or by class, and you can see which learners have been assessed, which assessments are in progress, and which have not started yet. Ati, have you found this useful?
It is because, you know, you trust your teachers. You want them to start with the assessment, and there is a period where they're going to start with the assessment. So you want to see by Thursday, how far are they? Have the green group been assessed, or has this teacher started with the assessments? And also the comments, you want to see, are these comments proper enough to go to the parents as the principal? Because remember, it is your center, like Lisa mentioned earlier. You don't want to be, you also want to edit the grammar errors or spelling errors, and you sit down with the teacher and you discuss the assessment that she is recording on the app.
So Ati, are you saying that the teacher does the assessment, but you do a final review before it goes to parents?
Yes, because remember, I'm not in the class with the child. And so the teacher is the one that is in the class with the child.
That's great. That's teamwork, hey? And also it means you're working smarter, not harder. Doing 100 assessment reports. Spend your whole weekend. You'll miss the rugby. All right. So, and then I'm assuming you also go to view the assessment results. And I find it's very interesting. You can view your results by age group and also by learner. Ati, why would you, for example, want to review the results by an age group or by a learner? What's the difference?
So, sorry. So you have the different classes at your center, right? And so the teacher has done the assessment, but now you want to see what is the area, what is the learning area where the children are then struggling in. Now you want to see where can I then change this, or how can I then assist the teacher? Is it the gross motor developments, or is it the fine motor skills that I need to then speak to the teacher? Are you giving the children enough activities to see, are the children's fine motor skills being really developed in the classroom?
That's so helpful for you as the leader, because sometimes it's not a learner issue. It might be a classroom or a systemic issue. It might even be a resource issue. Like if you don't have scissors, how can kids practice that skill? So I can see how this will be very helpful for you as the leader of the center. And then finally, this was the section Ati spoke about. We spoke about where you can view and download the report. So you can download it with the observations, and you can print it or share it via email or instant messaging. And for those parents who have the parent app, which is called the Lion app, the parents can view their child's report in the Lion app. So just as a quick reminder, where do you find all these downloadable resources? That is in your Giraffe or Meerkat app. Under the My Tools section, resources, go to forms and templates. I promise you, when you go into forms and templates, you are going to find forms and templates you didn't even know you needed. You're going to save so much time. Now there are some of you thinking, oh, if only so-and-so was on this webinar. They needed to hear all of this. Oh, if only this teacher of mine can do this webinar. Okay, I've got good news for you. Inside the app, center owners and teachers can also access an online training course, which is almost like this webinar, but even a bit more detailed. And the lovely thing is at the end, you also get a certificate of completion. So I did this learner assessment online training last year. It was absolutely lovely. It's data free as well. So you need a little bit of data to log into the system, and then you don't need any data thereafter. You can see here, these were all the things that I was learning. I could download checklists, and then I got my lovely certificate at the end. It's a great one to do with all of your teachers and put it in their personnel file as proof that they've continued their professional development. So again, here, where do you access that training? From your smartphone, tablet, or your laptop? You can go to the Grow Academy URL, which is data free, or you can go to it from your Giraffe or Meerkat app. And this is only if you have the app and you have created an account. Okay. Lisa.
Aha.
We need to start wrapping up here. Tell us 6 tips for a great, successful learner assessment.
Right. So I think what's really important is that we start with the center owner who downloads the Giraffe app. It is free, it is amazing, and it is far broader than you even imagine. So like Helene said, there's so much training that's available free of charge there. It's such an amazingly useful tool. So then once the center owner, then she registers her teachers on the app. So if I'm the center owner, I download the app off the Play Store and I start. Then the first thing I do is I make sure that all my teachers are loaded. They are then able to access the Meerkat app, which is, as we said, the teacher's app. They can complete the online training. They can prepare for their assessment. They can complete the learner assessment and then review and share the results with the parents. It's a very simple process. But there is so much competition in the ECD sector. How do you set your school apart? How do you make people see your center as professionally run, as that step above? And one of those things is an assessment system. Because I could ask the teachers at any given time, how is so-and-so doing? They would be able to say, he's not able to, for example, cut, but he's sticking and gluing really well. At other centers, I can say, how strong are your children on fine motor or whatever? And they're going, well, I think everyone can do it. They haven't actually got a clue where the kids are. And that's where gaps in learning happens, because I've wasted a large part of my year doing colors and counting with children that already know their colors. They already know how to count, but I haven't moved on from there because I didn't figure out that they needed that. So an assessment process that's embedded in your center and your every year way of running is what will set you apart from other ECD centers.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we're going to get into the final section of the webinar where we look a little bit at the support and tools and resources that Grow can give you, and also any questions that we haven't answered yet. Ati, I have a question from Zandisi where she says that she works in the informal settlement and there is one classroom with different age groups. So one classroom with different age groups, how should she tackle her assessment?
So on the Grow app, so she will then create classrooms per age group. She will not put those children all in the same classroom, because when you enroll a child or a learner on the app, it automatically gives you the age group of the child. And so she will then see that when she wants to assess the child will then be assessed on their proper age group.
Okay, so when I load the learners in the app, I need to make sure I'm putting in the right date of birth. The app will then calculate, is this child 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old? And when I run the assessment for that child, it'll pop up the right assessment for that age group. Okay, and then you can group everyone in the age group together and run their assessments together.
A simple way to run that is that you have one class, you've got, let's say, 30 learners, and you've got 4 different age groups, because you've got some very little ones, you've got some that are heading off to grade R. You look on your app and you automatically see which assessment tool you need to do with which child. You can do it all in one room. So you can say, all right, I'm going to choose just my 3-year-olds, I'm going to take them and do an assessment activity with them. And once I've marked them off, I may want to do fine motor again, but I'll do it with my 4-year-olds. Different activities come up on your assessment. So you can systematically assess all the learners in one class, each of them on a different assessment tool.
Okay, excellent. So for those of you who need any support with the app or getting into the training, or you're like, how do I get into the resources? Our ECD app help desk is available. Wendy is just a WhatsApp or a call away. Wendy also speaks multiple languages, thank heaven. You can email her, WhatsApp her, or call her during office hours, please. Or send a WhatsApp. She'll get to it as soon as she can. She'll call you back or message you, and you can ask her any questions about the apps. Now let's talk a little bit about how Grow ECD can help. Many of you know Grow a little bit. And I just wanted to summarize very briefly that Grow ECD is a nonprofit organization, and we are really interested in how we can help ECD center owners run their preschools like a business, so that you can provide excellent education while also being financially sustainable. We think that the recipe for ECD success is having a heart for children and having a head for business. You need both those things. So most of you might say, oh, I have a heart for children, but this head for business, Helene, how do I grow that? And we have different resources and tools for both education quality and business development. Let me tell you a little bit more. So some of the services that might benefit you is our free app to help you run your preschool. That's the Giraffe app. Through the app, you can access free online training on different topics. This training is not theory. This is not about getting an NQF qualification. This is about continuous professional development, practical tips, practical topics. We also have the free resource library, which you can access through the app. Over 350 downloads that is available, from POPI compliance enrollment forms to contracts of employment, to business plan templates, to parent bulletins and resources, tips for how to use recycled material, lots variety. And then I see some of you are asking, how can I learn more about running my preschool like a business? Our ECD Business Accelerator training program is amazing. We are currently finishing our final cohort. And if you're interested in this, you can sign up in 2024. I'll show you a little bit more about that. And then finally, the small business program includes our curriculum, the classroom kits, mentorship, and in-person training. And you can receive more information about that if you're interested. This is the ECD app we spoke about, which covers everything from your admin and finances, assessment, parent engagement. It's essentially your virtual phone, a virtual school in your phone. These were the 3 apps we explained: Giraffe, Meerkat, and Lion. And then the ECD Small Business Owner Accelerator program is all about helping you get the skills, tools, and resources you need to run your preschool like a business. This is an in-person training program, which we offer in Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. It's 6 modules. And in these 6 modules, you are learning about leadership, managing your money, running your preschool more financially sustainably, providing quality education, all the compliance and registration requirements, and very crucially, how to save time and work smart using technology. So everybody on this call will receive an email afterwards with the slides, and I will also include a link to the accelerator program if you are interested. All right, I am going to wrap us up. I'm looking at the chat. And Anna, I see Anna had a question about the resources. Please will you chat to the help desk about that. Help desk can help you. Tyrrell has posted all the links to the app, and we are available to you afterwards. We know your lunch hour is coming to a close. Ati, any final words?
So now that we are going to be reaching the assessment period, now you need to remember that the assessment is not for you, the teacher, to look nice to the parents, but it's for the child. Do it for the child, and you want to be honest and open to the parent so that the parent also understands where their child is at, especially at their age group. So teachers need to be honest with the assessment and do it, you know, not stressfully. Don't let it stress you. It's not a stressful thing. Have fun while you are assessing the children.
Excellent. Lisa, final words from you.
Okay, thanks very much. I think, Helene, just a very important thing about the assessment, the process as well as the tool, is it's the most incredible way for a teacher to really get to know her learners one by one, individually. Because so often we sit down at Second Ring or news or something and we just see a sea of faces. But during the assessment time, that's when you get to know each one of your learners individually. So as Ati said, enjoy it, have fun, and the children just love it when you do things with them. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you everyone for making the time to be here. Feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page if you have any questions, or email us. I will put up the contact details again. We'll see you next time. Next week, we have an amazing webinar on the ECD career path. So feel free to join us then if you're interested in the career path in ECD, or you know someone who's interested in starting. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.